WGT World Golf Tour. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on putting. What we've chosen here is the all par 3 course. And keep in mind that a putt of 3 inches long is equally as important as the shot of 188 yards that we're getting ready to hit here. So with that in mind, and considering the wind, we're going to pick a 180-yard club. Hopefully the wind will carry it and get us there. Take a little peek at the layout on the green. And let's see what happens. A little late. Better late than never. I was trying to do that because I wanted to get far enough away so that you could see the different selections. And if you want to believe that, you can. Personally, I don't. But here's the trick. Every putter, no matter if it's amateur level all the way up through Tour Legend, has different lengths available for it. In the case of the one that I have, which is a Versa putter, there are different sizes, or I'm sorry, speeds that you can use, and these different settings allow you to go different distances. So in the case of this putter, there's a 15-foot, a 30, a 60, and 100, and it keeps going up, 150 to all the way up to 300. Now in this case, we're 35 feet away, but rather than use percentages, you'll notice I have no special equipment down here. There's a Putter Pal available, which would put actual percentages across the bottom of the screen at equal increments. You'll find most Legend and Tour Legend players will use that percentage. When you talk to them, they talk in percentages. Depending on the speed of the green, which is always going to be on the upper right here. You'll notice this number next to tournament. Because my rank is Legend, I will always be on a tournament green unless I'm playing a Tour Legend player, and then that tournament will change to Champion. If you are just beginning on WGT at the amateur level, you'll see that this will say slow as opposed to tournament. Now the speed to the right, you'll see tournament anywhere from 9 up to 13, is in professional golf called the stint meter, and that just means that 13, for instance, is going to be hard as marbles, and a 9 will be a little bit slower. So you have to adjust the speed of your putt. Now that sounds complicated. I choose not to do that. What I do is go to a practice green initially, and I will pull back on the swing meter here and watch the golfer. Watch what happens. See the club move back right there? There's back and forth. What I do is get on a flat surface and see how far the ball will go with that first pull. And if you'll notice, the golfer will do that all the way through. There's one move, moves again, third time, fourth time, and a fifth time. So the 30-foot scale is basically broken into 5 different sections. And in playing on a practice green that was perfectly level with no slope, I discovered that at the 30 scale, each one of those movements will allow the putt to travel right at 9 feet. On the 15-foot scale, each of those movements is 8 feet. Then when you move up to the 60-foot scale, each of those movements is approximately 18 feet. Then you go up to a 100-foot scale, each of those movements is 20 feet. So let's go to the 100 and see what that looks like here. So again, watch the golfer you'll see there's the first move. That's a 20 foot, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, and 140. So although it's labeled a 100-foot club, as you get up into the higher rankings, and because of the green speed keeps getting faster the higher ranking you are, in this case you notice that although it's marked a 100-foot long putter, it will actually travel 140 feet if you pull it almost all the way back. So we'll drop back to the 30-foot scale. And again, each of those movements will pull back approximately 9 feet. Now this putt is 35 feet, down 2 inches. So most golfers on WGT will tell you that you can safely subtract 1 inch from every foot of putt. So in this case, we're looking at a 33-foot putt to get it there. Now, judging the slope as we're looking at it, I'm just going to give it plenty of room here. In the immortal words of Johnny Miller, who's on, I think it's CBS Golf, you always want to miss on the high side. All right, so now we know it's about 35 feet to this point, and we know it's going to drop a little bit, so let's go for somewhere around 33 feet. Now, knowing that on this particular club, 9 feet each pull, here's 9 feet, 18, 27, and oh, I'm sorry, it took too long. Anyway, what I was going to do is pull 4 times, that's 36 feet, and then just drop back a little. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 36 feet. Go back and then drop off a few feet, and then let's see if the putt can be hit right. Now, I didn't aim very well, but if you look at the actual shot distance, it ended up going exactly 35 feet. The same thing applies to short putts like this one. In this case, the computer's going to suggest the proper putting length. In this case, it's 15 feet. Now, again, knowing, pulling back in case of the 15 setting, this would go 8 feet. So I'm going to allow for the slope a little bit here, which is very gradual. Now, that's 6.6 feet up 2, so that putt should be 8.5 feet or so. So we'll pull back, watch the putter. That is going to be 8 feet right there at that point. So 8 feet. I'm going to give it an extra foot or so, and hopefully I'll hit it perfectly here, which I didn't. And you'll notice it went in the hole. That is not using a lot of percentages, but I think it's easier overall. And now let's get one that's going to be very far away. I'm going to see if we can put this thing over on the right side of the green. Just back off a little bit here. Hopefully it'll make it. Well, this may turn into a discussion of how to come out of a sand. Yes, it does. Okay, went a little too far. But this is a good time to take the opportunity to show you another way to get out of the rough. Again, a lot of people prefer the flop shot, as it's called. So let's get away from putting for a minute here. All right, I'm going to look at the greens. Click on the hour. Remember, you can see the slope of it. In this case, we want the ball to land to the right. And I've learned basically the same thing about the what would normally be a flop or a chip or a pitch shot. I personally use a full shot all the time. Always select a 50-yard club. Now, we're in deep rough. You're going to lose a little bit of distance. The ball's not going to bite very well. But over time, I have learned that right about there is 30 yards. Right about there is 35. So even though we're in 40% to 50% rough, I'm going to back it down to just under what I think is going to be 30 feet. And I hit it late as can be, of course. Now again, I had no backspin on the ball, so it went a little bit too far. But if you notice, the travel distance was pretty close. All right, so now we have a nice little putt here. We are on the fringe. The fringe takes a little bit more authority to get the ball through it. Normally I would chip in this situation, but let's go ahead and try a putt. All right, so we're 16 feet away, down 2 inches. That's going to be about 14 feet. So we'll drop back to the 15-foot scale. And again, we want to go 14 feet. We have a little bit of rough. So again, remembering that pulling it back to there is, see the putter move? That's 8 feet, 16 feet. And I'm going to back off just a little bit and see how close we can get. Now again, if I played the brake properly, it would have been fine. And this is going to be a straight in putt. Now again, there's 8 feet. We're going to be going 4 feet, so I want to go about half of that. Ooh. Luckily, this doesn't count. Just demonstration. All right, and let's go to another green. Now this, just from experience, I happen to know that this green is rather flat. So I'm going to go, again, deliberately away from the pin here. I want it to stop pretty quickly. On this particular set of clubs, full backspin removes about 10 yards of travel distance. So theoretically, this will stay on the green. And get away from the cup as much as possible. All right, so my theory was wrong. Now let's go back to a chip here. Well, it should be a chip. Again, full club. Again, this is my preference. There are many people who do not use this. A flop shot would be in order, maybe from this distance, even a pitch or a chip. But this is just something that has worked very well for me. All right, again, that's about 10 yards normally for me. And remember, this is right at about 30. So we're going 19 yards, which should be just a rough guess, right about there. And let's see what happens. It wasn't too bad. Anytime you can get 6 feet or less away from the hole, you're doing pretty well. Right, that's 5 feet away. Again, 15-foot scale. We know right there is 8 feet. We need to go about 6, so drop back just a little bit. All right, so next time we'll go through the procedure. Try and get reasonably close to the hole. Seem to have a little load time issue going on here. Now you'll notice if you're a amateur or pro or tour pro player, you'll notice how far back the tee-off area is when you start getting into the upper ranks like the Tour Master and Legend. Alright, I'm going to pick a club that I know is going to be a little short here. Okay, so we have 7 yards, which is going to be about a 21-foot putt. And you'll notice the green is fairly level, slight right to left slope. We're just going to go just off the cup to the right side. And in the case of the 30-foot scale, which we're on now, each movement would be 9 feet. So we'll go 1, 2, that's 18. And we want to go 21 feet, so we'll go just a little bit farther. And that seemed to work pretty well. Now again, what you'll find if you're at the amateur pro, tour pro level, on a slow green, that distance is going to be substantially less. Each time you pull back, instead of being 8 feet, it might only be 4 feet. But the same rules apply. It's going to be consistent between the various clubs, and it'll also be consistent in terms of the length for each green you're on. But what will happen is, let's say you go in and you just want to play a stroke play match, and you get in there, and there happens to be a legend player. Whenever you play on WGT, the greens will be set at the highest ranking player. So if you have a couple of tour pros, a master, and a legend in there, the greens will always be tournament greens, just like I'm used to playing on all the time. Conversely, if there was some tour masters and a couple of tour pros in there, then the greens might be very fast. It depends on the ranking of the player. Now this will be interesting to even get it on the green. I have no idea where that's going to go, but hopefully it'll get a little close. Whoa. All right, and here we can do a little chipping again. Again, looking at the green, seeing what the slope is, just allowing a little bit for it. And then going back to my method, which, again, you don't have to use it. Do about 10 yards here. Oh, and that rough took a couple of yards off, which I did not allow for, so my bad. All right, here we are, 15-foot scale. Allow for the slope of the green a little bit. And you'll notice as you rank up, so to speak, you will the greens will have more, or the rating of the greens, a tournament green, for instance, you'll have to allow for more slope. For instance, championship green, you might be up here somewhere. Tournament green, you're going to be here. If it's a very fast green or fast green, it might be over here. So it changes depending on the speed of the green. All right, now we're about 9 feet, so we want to watch the putter. There's 8 feet, and then we go a little bit more. Let's see how that does. Of course, I hit it wrong, but... Now, one thing you'll notice is when you're doing uphill putts, you have to add a little bit more. When you're doing downhill putts, if it says 8 feet, you don't want to go all the way to the 8-foot line. You want to drop back a little bit because slope, either up or down, will have a negative effect or a positive effect on how far the putt will go. And I believe at this next green we'll be able to see that. Alright, we're just going to put a 210 yard here. See if we can get a little bit close. Or at least on the green. And I don't know that we're going to stay dry there. Well, got lucky. All right, this will be able to give you a good example of what happens on a downhill putt and how you need to back off a little bit. All right, so we were miraculously are only 73 feet away, down 3 inches, so the overall putt length will be somewhere around 70 feet. Now, because of the slope, we're going to have to allow for a lot of it here. And keep in mind the 73 feet. That's what you want to. You don't want to work on where you're going to here. Just remember the 73 feet. All right, at a 100-foot scale, each movement is going to be 20 feet. So let's go 20, 40, 60, 80. There's 80, back down about 70 something, 75, and see if we can get reasonably close to it. Didn't play enough break, but as you see, you can get a reasonably close distance without having to sit there with calculators going and all kinds of other difficult to use stuff. There's 8 feet. Back off just a little. So anytime you can get a par reasonably easy from 70 some feet away from the hole, that's not bad. And again, you haven't had to spend a lot of time using calculators or devices to try and figure out how hard and how long to hit the putt. And this particular hole has quite a few undulations to it, so this would be a good one to test. Let's see if I can get off to the right here. It's more fun putting that way. Good. Now this is the kind of putt that you'll run into fairly often, where you have to go up over a hill and then back down the other side. Now if you look, you can see this is basically uphill a lot, but bring the cursor back to you a little bit. See, that's consistently level once you get up over there. If it was, you go the other way, see, that's level right at that direction. So you can see how the coloration stays the same. Downhill, notice how it drops. So we're pretty consistently up to 26 feet. Let's get right at the hole here to be accurate. So it's 26 plus 6 is 32 feet. Allow for a little bit of break going to it. And knowing that on our scales, on the 30-foot scale, which it happens to be on, it's 9 feet each. So we're going to go up to 36 feet. And again, because it's uphill, going to give it a little bit more. So we'll go 9, 18, 27, 36. There's 30, see it right there, 36. And again, we were trying for a net 26. We ended up being a net 28 feet, which was pretty close. And we've been doing some very long putts to get close to the hole. And so far I've been doing okay. So we'll do a couple of more here. Now remember, at the legend length, I am going to be, in some cases, up to 50 yards farther away from the hole than a a master or tour master might be. .239, right about there. All right, so we're, again, pretty far away. Now, this is one of those really downhill putts. Notice how the color changes to orange. So the only math you have to do in this game is to subtract. In this case, 51 minus 12, so 2 from 11 is 9, 1 from 4 is 3. So the net effect of this putt will be 30, what was that, 2 from 11, yeah, 39 feet. So the 60-foot scale, each of the movements of the golfer's putter is 18 feet. Now, even though we want to go 39, because it's so far downhill, I'm going to back off a little bit and actually do 36 feet, which would be 1, 2. And then let's see how close we get. I think that's close enough. Again, there's nothing wrong with using calculators and slope indicators and all the other fancy equipment you can get. The method you're seeing here can be used at any level from start to finish. I've been using it all the way through, haven't changed. It's not saying it's right, but as you just saw, you can get pretty accurate just by watching the golf club movement to determine length. And we're a little slow on the internet tonight here, but that's all right. Now, if memory serves, this green slopes dramatically right to left. Got wind going with us. It's down 20 feet, so let's see how close we can get here. Now, you'll notice when that ball hit, it went probably 20 yards downhill. All right, now we have 23 plus 2 inches up. Is it going to be a 25-foot putt? Slight right to left movement here over the whole length. I'm thinking it'll move that much. Again, if you're on a championship green, such as a tour legend would enjoy all the time, you'd be further to the right. Assuming this goes in the hole, you would, Tour Master amateur level, would be a little bit closer to the hole. All right, so we want to go 21 feet, and on the 30-foot scale, 9 feet each movement. So we got 9, 18, and just a little bit more to go 21. Hit it early, so it's going to miss on the bottom. Again, it was uphill, didn't allow enough. I'm going to go about 4 feet here. So that's a simple, easy way to calculate it. And again, all you need to do is go to a practice green, because these rounds count. It goes towards your average score. So if you wanna progress through the ranks, the lower the score, the better. So that kind of dictates that you want to go to the practice range to learn your putter. And if you're an amateur just starting at the game with all the stock equipment that comes with it, my suggestion would be to go hit a practice round, particularly par 3, so you can be on the green as much as possible, and open up your scales. And you'll see there are different scales for different putters. Some of them start with a 10-foot scale. In the case of mine, it's a 15, 30, 60, and 100 and on up. But just find a level part of the green, which is St. Andrews is a good place to do that if you want to play a specific course. Otherwise, just pick a par 3 and look for a level area and just hit the ball around, move it back, just keep hitting on the green. Don't try and get it in the hole, and see how far your particular ball travels at each of the movements of the golfer. That's something you can do without having to buy any extra equipment. You can use the equipment you have. The scale I use is the exact same scale that an amateur gets when you first sign up for the game. There are things you can add. You can add putter pal and shot pal. There's nothing in life you can't buy to help you out a little bit. But in the case of putting, whether it's necessary or not it's entirely up to you. But it is something that you can learn right away and be fairly accurate with it from day one. So I hope you enjoyed the little lesson, and we'll see you again soon.